I took it upon myself to dedicate days and days of time to study the books, read up on resources, and be the individual to concoct the best Blue Lock player, taking aspects from Blue Lock facility players and meshing them into one collective being, which will result in the most ideal striker that even Ego Jinpachi could never dream of surpassing with any project that he holds. So stick around, hit that like and subscribe button to see more Blue Lock content. We are aiming for 500 likes on this video. Also be sure to join my Blue Lock Discord if you're interested in interacting with a Blue Lock community like no other. To start, we first need to look at the full stat summary sheet. So I quickly grabbed Isagi's old stat sheet, which had the translations from Japanese to English provided by Hoshi801_. As you can see, we have a lot to work with and even more to consider. Sure, there are 6 main stat parameters to look at, but the overall stat total has so many different variables that make up the total. So as I said in the intro, we are constructing the ultimate player using only Blue Lock facility characters. So this means no Kaiser, no Sai, no Noah Noah, etc. We will however include the former Japan U20 team players, of course offering characters like IQ and Sendo at our disposal to utilize. I will clarify, I may not be objectively correct in what I pick, but I am here to do the best with what I have and hopefully you all can see my vision. Let's start off with a very important category, kick. Since we have the translations from this sheet, we will pull from other character skill parameter summaries, as well as according to my own point of view of whose stats are best to pull from for each section. Starting off with kicking power, we know that this can be contentious as characters we know to have extremely strong kicking power would be the likes of Konagami, Burū, Rin, Nagi, and Shido. So who do we pick out of such a strong lineup? Nagi out of these 5 is the only one to have a confirmed number for his kicking power being at 94. The rest only have a total shooting stat parameter. Of course Nagi's kicking power is likely higher following his first game as this was when his stats were first recorded, but I believe I'm taking Konagami's shooting power overall. Seeing as his overall shooting total following the Manshine game is at a 95, which is higher than Nagi's 92, it would be a good reason why to pick him. Not only that, but he has a finesse shot that covers an incredible distance up the pitch that consistently keeps a strong momentum on the way to the goal. Next up we have shooting accuracy, and I will definitely hand this one to Nagi. He is consistently a shot on target individual with a stat of 96 being no joke. Next up is the short pass. Contenders for this would be the likes of Bachara, Hiyori, Ryo, and Kurona. Bachara has a confirmed 90 in this portion with the use of his stat sheet. Kurona works well as a representative due to his fast short turns, making him specialize in 1-2 exchanges with Isagi. Hiyori has passing feats that are compared to Sai, and Ryo has copy feats and stat totals to make him quite the versatile player, especially considering he can copy the passing technique of Sai Itoshi. But I came down to picking Kurona for this category as this is very likely his bread and butter, and even if Ryo can copy Kurona's short passing, remember it's always 99% of the original's capabilities. Also, if you believe Kurona isn't as good with short passes without his speed, don't worry, we can build those stats up when we get to it to make it much more effective. For long passes, I'm giving it to Hiyori. There's no debate if his passing feats are comparable to Sai, and even if Ryo has amazingly copied Sai, a mere replication of what seems to be Sai holding back is not as impressive as all the opportunities Hiyori has made with his passes during the NAL. Volley is very interesting as both Nagi and Isagi's volleys functionally work very differently, but both are extremely solid choices. Nagi has had the best feat by far with his 5-stage fake volley, however this is noted to be unreplicatable, and Isagi has had the most consistent volley technique, but it is a very predictable performance. Well, at least comparatively. Knowing that we're building the ultimate player, who's to say the 5-stage fake volley won't be possible on this cracked out player that we are making, so I will pick Nagi for this stat. The long shot is down to Konagami or Shido. Konagami, as I previously said, has the strongest shot power and has a knuckle shot in which can be used from 40 meters away from the net. However, Shido himself shot and scored a big bang drive from pretty much the halfway line if we were to pull up a panel and see for ourselves. Overall, for the sake of consistency however, I will be picking Konagami as Shido has only got 1 feat regarding shooting from a long distance. Our best free kicker has to go to Rin Itoshi with a curve shot that is absolutely devastating. We have seen how Rin is able to shoot around players many times, as well as how immensely accurate he is, even with the ball being thrown off its original trajectory. Speaking of curve, Rin will also be picked for this stat as well. Yukimi is the only other one who I could say who has just as good of a curve, if not better, but this is to consider his curve, the gyro shot, is a strike that is easily stopped given the immense amount of time the ball is in the air and diving towards the goal. I mean, come on, the original gyro shot has never once worked for Yukiya that we have seen. Even Reo, who has done things at 99% of its original capabilities, has scored with it even before Yukiya can score with it, and that is hilarious. We are onto centering, and for those who don't actually know what this means, I'm also kind of scratching my head with this. My assumption is that it means crossing, as centering meaning a straight shot wouldn't make sense if Isagi has only got a 66 in this stat, even if this was before the NAL. Crossing is fairly handy if the individual has experience of playing down the wing, and what would pair with it would be the ability to dribble, but dribble is a separate section, so I believe Hiyori is our best crosser in Blue Lock, as he is who I believe to be the best passer overall. Next up is penalty kick. For this, you focus less on the curve aspect as you're only 11 meters out. It's just you versus the goalkeeper, and to consistently get one over the goalkeeper, you either have to be an unpredictable player or a total powerhouse player. Most goalkeepers are unable to save accurate power shots to the top corner of the goals, and Kunigami has shown extremely dominant penalty potential, even with the goalkeeper closer to stop his incoming shot than usual. But the argument for Shido won't go unheard, as he would bring a level of unpredictable nature that a goalkeeper can't foresee all the time. I believe I would actually value pure power shots, however, and pick Kunigami for this category, as some more experienced goalkeepers, or maybe even a possible goalkeeper with metavision, can be a challenging opposition for Shido that only pure striking speed and a power gap can overcome. The last section of kicking is opposite leg precision. We have multiple examples of characters being ambidextrous, but we can instantly rule out anyone who isn't naturally ambidextrous, so Isagi and Kunigami. Since we are focusing on the individual ability, we are purely relying on someone's ability to naturally and reliably use both their legs. Nagi has a visible stat of 94 in this category, where there's a whole Reddit post discussing if Nagi's naturally ambidextrous, as we have seen him utilize both his legs in his plays, but he always settles using his right foot for scoring, plus there is no confirmation of him being naturally dual leg dominant. Along with that, he is going to always be less precise compared to someone who is just as equally good with their left leg than their right. So this stat comes down to a few characters. Nanase, who's confirmed to be a natural user of both legs at the same capacity by Rin, Gagamaru, who's confirmed to be ambidextrous in the Egoist Bible, and Shido, who's used both his legs to score, as well as stating himself that both of his legs are quote nitro, which I can only assume that he's referring to both of his legs being naturally capable of getting him good performances. Overall, I think I'm picking Nanase. Not only is passing a much more precise action than shooting in most instances, but Shido, even with using both of his legs, can still miss the goal with his shots, and since examples of him passing with his left leg are not so frequent, it's better to pair the more reliably ambidexterity of Nanase, because passing is the starting format of shooting, as you're aiming at a smaller general target from a wide variety of distances. But I can understand the argument for Shido, whilst Gagamaru just doesn't have too many examples to draw from comparatively. So just know Nanase and Shido are the best players to put in this slot, but for the sake of variety, I will just put Nanase here anyway. Now we can confidently move on to the goalkeeping stats, and this is fairly easy to run through. For saving, catching, goalkeeping reaction speed and blocking, I will give to Gagamaru, and for goalkeeper positioning and coaching, I will give it to Fukaku. That purely comes down to the experience category. Whilst Gagamaru is a better goalkeeper, he does lack the necessary background of being a goalie as long as Fukaku, and I believe positioning and coaching would be the only spots he has Gagamaru beat, so that's the goalkeeper category already finished. The next category is physical, and now this is where decisions will matter a lot more, as this relates to player specialized weapons more than ever we will see in this video. Starting off with stamina, we will be giving this slot to Raichi. I know the self-proclaiming of having infinite stamina as if you're androids from Dragon Ball seems far-fetched, but Raichi hasn't proved us wrong. He has top-notch physicality and is the only player that I know of to have a weapon in relation to stamina in the first place, so this would be an easy slot to provide our angry shark man. Next up we have acceleration, which will rightfully go to Zantetsu, as this is where he best specializes. specializes in. I don't think there's going to be any argument regarding if this is the right person for this position, but if someone somehow does, your ignorance is not welcomed here. Top speed will obviously be given to Chigiri. Jump may be discussed a little bit more, as we have multiple characters who we can see have incredible vertical jump, such as Oliver Aiku, Nagi, Ryu, and Shido. I want to give this slot to Ryu though. To make our ideal character 6'5", he can very much be a capable player paired with his physicality and now ability to enter into flow due to his other stat distributions. We can imagine Ryu, who specializes in jumping, can outdo anyone when able to tap into flow. Shido does get his return being the person I pick for agility however. I mean, he is a character that relies on insane agility and instincts to run towards the ball. For those arguing for Chigiri however, agility isn't speed. Agility is the ability to change your body positioning quickly, which Shido has done on numerous occasions, especially to react to goal scoring opportunities. Kinetic vision is actually an index invented in Japan that refers to the capacity to recognize moving objects. I would give this slot to Isagi purely due to his high level of perception and vision of the field. Not to mention he has a 94 in the stat before the events of the NEL, which is kinda ridiculous. Next up is reaction speed, which has 3 strong contenders, Shido, Gagomaru, and Zantetsu. Zantetsu, due to his explosive acceleration, always pairing well with how fast he can react. But I would give this stat to Shido anyway, as his instinctual reaction is much more efficient than just fast reaction speed. Then we have power, which I will confidently give to Aiku. That may seem weird to you all, but power refers to a lot more than just shot power. This is in the physical category, and power comes down to the ability to quickly generate force or even stop the force of the ball altogether. Aiku has a great stat parameter as a defender for being able to react fast and use strength and speed to showcase this power. He's able to both challenge for the ball and even confidently handle and clear the ball upfield, alongside rarely someone that can beat him in physicality and resilience as a defender. Since shot power is an overall separate stat that I have already given to Kunigami, this stat refers to a much wider plethora of aspects that Kunigami isn't as widely familiar with. You know who would know this much though? A player who has not only played as a striker but specializes in defense. Finally, we have the balance stat, where we can focus on the control of body movement and the capacity to stay on your feet. And when it comes down to body control and overall being able to relax your body for versatile reasons, no one can beat Nagi, who is said to be even better than the likes of Chris Prince in this parameter. So this one will go to Nagi, and that's the physical category finished. Next we move on to the mental category, and this section is my most dreaded one. A lot of this comes down to perspective more than factual information than ever before, but I hope you all trust my process. Composure is most definitely a hard nut to crack. You could go down the route of who basically does the best with coping, like Isagi, or even go down the route of who isn't known for being under pressure as much, like Nagi. But to go off the definition of composure, which being a state or feeling of being calm and in control of oneself, I would actually pick an unexpected Kurasu, who is actually known for getting more fired up the more relaxed he is when playing. He's naturally able to assess situations better when under high pressure because he benefits more from being on the calmer side. And since this is a state of his which he's easily able to access, it makes sense why he would go in composure. Next, for assertiveness, I will pick Isagi. Even in games when he's an established threat, he continues to strive to be assertive, and it even goes as far to say that without Isagi actively establishing himself, his team would be overwhelmed. Not to mention, his direct shot is a product of assertiveness, as he's actively going to the best spot on the field to utilize it, syncing up with his teammates' passing abilities. For condition stability, I wanted to pick someone who we see has a set drill training routine for football, and who better than Burū. He definitely has the ability to use his core muscles to stabilize his body during dynamic movements, as we see him do chop feints on multiple occasions to a higher degree. And since he's one of the more harder working geniuses that is able to have such a skill readily available to him, he is no doubt a good pick for this slot. Attack awareness is up next, and with the ability to know your own team's attacking formation and to make good decisions when it's in motion, I'm of course picking Isagi for this slot once again. There's no surprise, as his spatial awareness and overall use of metavision is honed to be an offensive tool, as he is able to understand the positioning of opposing team players and identify goal scoring opportunities not just for himself but for his teammates as well. He is a vital call for his team, and his attack awareness is what makes him so dangerous as a striker. Defensive awareness is a lot more akin to being able to loosely fall back on defense and quickly stop oncoming attacks, so who better to pick for this position than the experienced defender Oliver Aiku. Ubers is a general team that focuses on stronger defense and heavy attacking strategy. To be able to interchange between the two is a vital asset, and Oliver Aiku paired with his experience as a defender defender and metavision ability is way more suitable than characters like Nico and Karasu. Next up is coordination. It's best to pick someone with better physicality with this stat, as it comes down to the ability to control your body and the ball while moving. And since this does come down to multiple sub-factors that not only relate to mental but physical, I am going to pick Ryo for this slot. His coordination can easily be molded not only by copying others, but his ideal evenly spread stat distribution giving him an all-round reliable physicality. Finally, in the mental category is tactical comprehension, which is an ability to understand the game's fundamental aspects such as formations, player movements, and team strategy. So yes, a combination of awarenesses. So overall, the best player for this slot would unsurprisingly be Isagi. And that's the full category for mental. Now we can move on to our last category, technique. For trapping and ball control is quite obvious. Of course I will select Nagi for both these stats. The best player to pick for the heading stat will be Aiku. For dribbling, I will give this vital stat to our best known dribbler in the BLUELOCK facility, Bachelor. For tackling, this will go to Kuon. No one can tackle quite like that man. Kidding, it's Aiku, and the same goes for the sliding tackling. Up next is direct play. It can be characterized as a style containing long passes, a low number of passes, short passing sequences, and a low number of touches per ball involvement. And I believe all aspects to do with passing overall would only fit best to Hyorei as our best BLUELOCK facility passer. Positioning and playfield vision will once again go to Isagi. Positioning is especially on his side, as he has weapons that directly correlate to him wanting to be in the best advantageous position to score goals with his direct shot. And playfield vision is self-explanatory. And finally, we end off with the stat Feint. Initially, I was going to give this stat to Burū, but he isn't as effective with the skill compared to someone who specializes in this slot, especially considering this character was able to outperform the speed and reactive times of Chigiri whilst using these feints, which put Chigiri into danger of getting injured once again. That's right, I'm referring to Himizu. Debatably, this can go to Burū, but considering one's playstyle is built around the skill and the other utilizes it as an aspect of being a Joker player, I wanted to go with a more general option, as Himizu's feint complemented by these other stats can take his weapon to the next level. And that's the end for the individual stats for every single category. I believe I did a very effective job in building the ultimate BLUELOCK facility player, having the best traits of both talented learners and geniuses, being practically on the verge of perfection, and on the scale of being able to compete with the series best of the best players like Noel Noah and Mark Snuffy. I would give this player a 100 stat total overall, of course, but I guess that can also be up for debate considering we haven't seen all the updated stats of the BLUELOCK top players. Who knows, some of these slots later down the line will be changed according to updated information, but how about everyone currently watching this video lets me know in the comments below who do you think deserves to represent a particular stat. Please provide your reasoning as to why as well. But it's safe to say that this player that I constructed would definitely become the best striker in the world if it were to ever set out into the world of BLUELOCK. Thank you all so much for watching this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and until next time, peace.